Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Tekken 8 and its Tekken as a series and the new sales benchmark that they just hit. Before we do so, I do want to say that I am now once again booting up interviews. So if you guys want to be interviewed, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Link is down below in the description, but also try to have interesting ideas. You know, some of the interviews that I was doing in the past got really repetitive. Everyone kind of feels the same way about Tekken 8. So if you have an interesting idea or something to say about the game, then reach out. If you just hate Tekken 8 and you want everyone to know it, we already know it. So don't reach out. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the stats of Tekken currently. This is a website here, the Tekken Wikipedia. It's no longer up to date. You can see that the total copies sold here is 58 million for the whole entire Tekken series. You can see they even have Pokken Tournament listed. Tekken 8 has 3 million. This was the last confirmed sales number that Tekken 8 has received. Now, we do know that Tekken 8, they said, is selling faster than Tekken 7. We all have our theories about it. You know, Tekken 7 was super successful, broke a lot of records. Tekken 8 is carrying the momentum. The interesting thing to note about Tekken 8 currently is that the sales have seemingly slowed down. If that's true, right, we'll see when the developers decide to report the next, milestone. When they and if they report it, we'll see whether or not Tekken 8 is still ahead. My judgment is that it is not ahead of Tekken 7 anymore. But we'll see for sure, confirmed when the developers start to talk about it. Tekken 7, you can see that it sold 12 million copies. You can see that 6 million of those copies came from PlayStation. You can see some of the other sales here. Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which we know almost killed the series. Usually when I say that, players get really upset, but Harada said it again a couple of months ago. Well, not even a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago in an interview, so he kind of reiterated that point once again. But you can see Tekken 5 was another hit. Tekken 4, even though this is considered a failure by Bandai Namco Studios, it still did really well. Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Tekken, right? We are pretty familiar with these terms. This chart here is the sales chart of all of the three big fighting games collaborating with one another. We know Mortal Kombat 1 is over. That game's done now. They're not working on it anymore, right? But you can see for Mortal Kombat 1, they were the highest at 5 million copies sold. These guys maxed out at 6.2 million copies sold. So far, they still are the best performing of the three. Street Fighter has about 5 million, so they're still 1 million under Mortal Kombat. And then you have Tekken 8, which was the fastest growing very early on, but then they started to hit all of this controversy and they're sliding to a halt. Now, you can see this dot here at 3 million copies sold, and so far we're still at 3 million copies sold. So this line should be extending much farther now. And if you were to compare it with Tekken 7, you will see that Tekken 7 goes up and up and up, and you can just see how the momentum for that game was undying. Tekken 8, you can see this huge flat line. And once we get a solid number for where the sales are at now, the dot should be about right here. So it should be tied with Tekken 7 or very close with Tekken 7. So they still have the potential to be doing better, but it's not looking too pretty. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because Bandai Namco released this document. This is the fact book of 2025. And in this document, they release a lot of information about Bandai Namco overall. If you guys want, you can pause through this, squint your eyes, and try to read all of this information. It's really all not that interesting. It's a bunch of stuff just about like Bandai Namco as a company as a whole. It talks about their, toy market. It talks about their video games. It talks about all aspects of Bandai Namco. You can even see here it says amusement parks, right? There's like how many pages of this? You also have this portion down here at the bottom, which is gives a breakdown of the history of Bandai Namco. Its founding in 1950 July, and then of course it's going to talk about the merger somewhere in here. It talks about Pac-Man, right? So this is a cool article, especially when you get all the way up until 2025, and you can see some of the later things that they're talking about, right? You have the company logo change there, so that's cool. But the part that I want to focus on is right here on page, is it page 1? Here they say major home consoles, and I'll just read this screenshot from my Twitter because I put it on Twitter and it's bigger so we don't have to struggle to read it. It says Bandai Namco Entertainment Incorporation, major home consoles game titles, cumulative total number of shipments by series. So you can see here Super Robot War series has 20 million sales. You can see that the Tekken series now has 61 million copies sold. The Tails series has 31 million. Naruto series has 37 million, and then Dark Souls has 39, basically 49 million copies sold. Now, the interesting thing about this is it also shows the start and the current day. Even though Tekken has the most copies sold, the Dark Souls series gained 40 million copies in only a decade. So it's doing what Tekken the series is doing in a shorter amount of time. And also the important thing to note about the Tekken series is that one, that they re-released Tekken 3, a lot of people played it, a lot of people interacted with it. I wonder how many people are still interacting with it, because Harada said those games are just driven by nostalgia, but once people get their nostalgia filled, they will put the game down and never play it. So that's probably something they're going to be looking at when they look at those statistics. But regardless, how many people purchased that could factor into this number as well. But then also you do have to wonder what Tekken 8 role is in this number. Now, we haven't had any official statements from Harada or the Tekken team. We know that Armor King is doing incredible things when you talk about the statistics of this game. I just did a interview with the person who runs this website. I see a lot of people always ask, what is this website? This is ewgf.gg. This website holds a lot of information about Tekken and what's currently happening. And this new section that was added adds the game activity. But you can see when you look at the weekly player base of Tekken 8, you can see that at the highest highs, it was at 342,000 people playing weekly. And then when you move on deep into season 1, right here where my mouse is at, this is the end of season 1. And you can see that they had 200,000 like pretty normally. And then even when you get into season 2 gets so much backlash, but it started and is currently doing better than season 1. People hate season 2, but it's doing better, especially when you talk about Armor King and what he's doing now, 249,000, right? So my point is that we can see what season 2 player numbers look like, how strong they are in comparison to season 1. And then we also know how popular Armor King is. If we also go and look at the statistics part of this website, a lot of people is playing Armor King. So this basically is going to translate to copies sold, but we just don't know how big of a margin that is. I am assuming that Tekken 8 is on the verge of 4 million copies sold. I did see some people jumping the gun and saying, you know, with this reporting here of 61 million copies sold, people are attributing all of that to Tekken 8 and saying that Tekken 8 is now at 5 million. You can't really make that assumption. That's a very dangerous assumption. We have to just wait for the official confirmation of where these sales figures are coming from. We know that Harada loves the sales figures. Once he gets around to talking about it, he will tell us. The Tekken developers, going back for the past decade, has always announced when Tekken reached a new milestone. So it doesn't make sense for them to, one, stop doing that, and two, stop doing that if their game did actually sell 5 million copies. 5 million copies is on the level of Street Fighter. So you know the developers would want to brag and boast about that. And the fact that they're not means that they haven't hit it yet. But like I said, we'll wait and see what they come up with. But so far, these numbers are pretty good for Tekken, because a lot of people say that the game is dying and the game is suffering. But when you look at the statistics, the sales figures, it's still going pretty strong. And that means that they have the potential to continue doing great work. People always talk about a Tekken 9. You don't get Tekken 9 if Tekken 8 dies. So we want Tekken 8 to get better, to improve. We want the developers to learn and understand where they went wrong, so that way we can see so much growth in the future. And so far, we're seeing some growth.